Hey guys, it's Tony. I am out in the park. Uber's back there. Hey, Oops. Waiting for any chance, waiting for the opportunity to run off. He's not too happy, but he can't run and roll in the park today because he was just groomed yesterday. And grooming, we don't roll in the grass after a fresh grooming. Let's just put it that way. Not for at least a week. But I wanted to come up here. It's so nice out today, and I'm in the park with my book and just selecting some next readings. And the one that I'm going to share with you today is actually a short story, and it centers around boundary setting. So this begins on page 157, but I'm going to read the actual story from you on page 158 with just a overview of 157 because the the focus, my intent is to talk about boundaries. I've been hearing that so much lately, and boundary setting, and what does that look like, and what is a boundary, and what is not. I feel I'm not judged to what your boundaries are and what that means to you. So for me, in this particular reading, this was a boundary around relationships and my personal growth and where I came from earlier in life, 20s and 30s, and the need and the unhealing work that I had not done for the craving of love and attention, excuse me, that I craved for so hard that I would just allow red flags to bypass me. And this piece on boundaries was actually from an experience that I had in a relationship, or a growing relationship, once I had healed that part of me of knowing who I am, my worth, my desires, really, and fearless, moving into love fearlessly. So it takes me back because I know reading it and then reading it aloud, writing it and then reading it aloud to myself and now to you, that there was so much work done. And I smile within because I know, had I been in this situation unhealed, I would have set myself up just for a long term of unhealthy relations. So beginning on page 158, and Grow Your Own Way, Whole, Well, and Worthy, my Wellness Memoir. He was sitting outside at Starbucks, and I was heading home to my apartment less than a mile away from the West Loop Athletic Club, where I just finished teaching a morning yoga class. He waved and I waved back. He had salt and pepper hair, very handsome, around 55, at the time about 10 years my senior. I was intrigued. In the moment, it felt like a scene from Sex and the City. I was just at that point of, let's give this thing called love another chance and see what's out in these dating streets. This time I was doing it with an open mind and an open heart. So as I'm locking my bike up on the bike rack, the man in the crowd is watching me. I could feel it. And when I turned, he smiles and waves me over and invites me for coffee. So the romantic side of me, I'm a true romantic. And the romantic side of me was like, of course, this would be a great story for us to share one day. So I walk on over. We have a nice time, and we go on a few more dates together over the next few weeks. Nothing spectacular, nothing over the top, dinners, walks, a couple of concerts. And then about a month in, it goes just a little sideways. So I'm going to set the scene for you, okay? At the time, I was living in Chicago in a studio apartment in a high rise down in the Loop. One evening, while I was in my apartment, my cell phone rang, and it was Guy. This was my guy. He said, "Hey, can you go look out your window?" Not thinking much of it, I walked over to the window, and I looked down into I lived right next to like a Walgreens parking lot. There was a street that separated us. What was the name of the street? Maybe it was Halstead. I think it might have been no, it wasn't Halstead. Madison. It was Madison. So Madison separated the apartments. And so I walked over and I looked down into the parking lot. And as I began to pull the blinds up, he said, when you get to the window, wave. Again, still not thinking too much of it. I thought, okay, so like a fool, I'm waving. And as I started waving and looking around, I see him with a pair of binoculars in his hands looking up at my window. Now, you guys, mind you, I never told this man what I might have mentioned what floor I lived on, but I didn't tell him which side or anything. I just mentioned the floor that I live on. So it was creepy. I felt really creeped out immediately. It was like hand in air cringing as this was happening. And I just felt violated. I felt very violated. It was just creepy. So I freaked out, not in the moment to him, but I think I just ended the conversation. And in my mind, I knew that we weren't going to go beyond there. After I settled down and, had time to meditate on it, I did reach out to him and tell him that that was a boundary that he crossed, a boundary of my safety, of my privacy. I didn't invite that, and something so innocent now could be a problem later. So learning how to acknowledge what's in front of you and go from them feelings from your set boundaries. So that was one of the first times I honestly felt really proud of myself in boundary setting, because I know, and as crazy as it may sound, had that been me a decade earlier, I probably would have thought that was cute and not strange and not acknowledging the feelings of overwhelming creepiness, because it's creepy. Unless we're not Romeo and Juliet here. It broke a boundary of mine, and that's all that I really need to say about that. So I read this piece to you because we all have these things that happen to us in life, and we may question, like, why did I let that happen? I'm feeling overwhelmed, or I don't feel really good about that. I need to set a boundary. And again, had this been the older me, I would have shut it down in the whole dating scene again. I would have been so triggered and so traumatized. But I took this interaction for what it was, and my focus was on the fact that I had honored this boundary that I'd set for myself, for my mental wellness, my emotional wellness. And it felt really good to be okay with that boundary. So I say to you through all that, when you are setting your boundaries or you're not sure, sit down and meditate on it and really ask yourself, this is a self-care piece again, what is it? What are my limits? What are my no-goes? And what are my soft entries? And be kind to yourself and allow your boundaries always to be flexible. There's some room for flexibility in them. So that is the reading for today. It starts on page 157, but the actual story is on 158 in my Wellness Memoir, Grow Your Own Way, Whole, Well, and Worthy. And remember, you can pick this up at Barnes & Noble, Walden Pond Books online, and if you're here in Oakland, on Grand Avenue. Also on Amazon, Ingram Spark, Goodreads, Bookshop, just all over the place. Please leave a comment, subscribe to my YouTube page, and buy my book. Yeah, buy my book. When you buy it, leave me a review. Reviews help my book get more notoriety. So please share this video as well. All right, you guys. Bye. Whole, well, and worthy. Grow your own way.